Welcome back to the Analog Renaissance. In today's video, we're going to work on a modified contour drawing of something that has a soft and slouchy texture.
You left off with me frustrated with my drawings, and I think that's part of this process, right? I mentioned at the beginning of this series, if you've been watching, that I actually never participated in these types of practices very often and don't teach them in my class, probably for that same very reason. I just am not comfortable doing them. I can draw technical drawings really well, but this type of drawing I'm not comfortable with, and I think practice is what we need to do. So I'm going to continue along this path of discomfort, teaching my eyes what they need to tell my hand, and my hand how to listen to my eyes and not assuming shapes, which was the problem with this piece, right? I was assuming a lot of things. I think this is the best candlestick I drew. And this one has definite issues with itself, but that's, I guess, to be expected as I'm getting used to this process. So it said in the book that we've been following along with to compose still life of objects, draw a series of modified contour drawings. So I've done a series so far, I would say, of the 3 objects. And then I really like this they have of the purse. There's a lot of detail in that drawing. And I have a bag that I think has some of the similar opportunities for drawing. So I am going to position that bag. Notice there's like a zipper, I've got buckles, and there's stitching and all sorts of things. So I was going to set this aside and maybe draw a portion of it like they did as another attempt at a modified contour drawing. Now, one thing I want to say is I have been spending a considerable amount of time practicing these things and walking away a little bit when I'm getting frustrated, but coming back to it, which I think is something different from what I've done in the past. In the past, if this was my first attempt, I would have said, okay, I tried it, didn't work out, and I would move on. And I tried it again and again, and I did remove the object. But if you remember, I removed the object because it had lines around it that I think were causing my eyes to move around this in a way that was difficult. So modified contour drawing of a bag. This will be my, what is this going to be? The 4th attempt. Well, so we'll count this as attempt 1. This was attempt 2. This was attempt 3 of just that vessel. And then this was attempt 4. So this will be my 5th attempt. This time, one object that is sort of like a slouchy, small little messenger bag with a lot of detail on it. And the one thing I want to remind myself more than anything is the first time I started this, I started drawing each individual object instead of following the contour like I did of my hand. Like when I'm drawing the contour of my hand, my eye and pencil are literally following as if I'm tracing. And I think I did that better here. This object was separate and distinct from it. And then on this one, I drew this as one thing and came back. And then I filled all of the interior line work in separate. But anyway, let's stop and get to work. Let's get to work. procrastination. I don't know where to start it. That's the problem. I think that's why I keep talking. So we're just going to start.
I've sped up this portion of the video. It's roughly 45 minutes long in its totality, but I have it at 5 times speed. And you can see still all of the detail and the decisions going through the process of drawing this. You can also notice that I have a little bit more confidence in my lines. I'm not using as many sketching motions. I am continuous movement for the most part. We just did some stitching on the bag, so obviously that was sort of a staccato motion, but I'm not making those like wispy marks of a sketching feel as I work my way through this. And in general, this seemed a lot easier to me than some of the things I was doing before, almost back to the comfort level I started to have doing the blind contour drawing. Now remember, these are modified contour drawings, so I am looking back and forth between the object, but I am focusing on the edge between each object or each surface. Have about, it looks like about 8 more minutes of this sped up, and I don't think it requires much explanation. You'll see me doing the work, and I tend to prefer videos that don't have background music, so I am avoiding putting background music in these. I would encourage you, if you want to watch it at double speed until you get to the end, but you can see the work I do back and forth, the hard metal objects of the bag and the soft textured leather.
I'm just looking at this. I was able to kind of get into a zone drawing, and I think a little bit of additional information would make this read really well, but in general, this was easier than the black and white striped vessel, which is odd to me. But similar to that preconception we have of what eyes look like, I think I really had a preconceived notion of the shape of that vessel that made it very difficult for me to look at it as anything other than the shape my eye wanted to see, which was the shape I kept drawing. But this was a very similar feeling to what I drew of my hand, like starting and stopping where your hand might be, or pieces of your hand and fingers. So that was interesting. This was interesting. I enjoyed this. I really did. I also was listening to a story, a book, while I was drawing this. So my mind, I don't want to say was distracted, because it wasn't necessarily distracted, but I was able to, I mean, I know I have some imperfections here, obviously, but in general, I think I'm happy with it. It could definitely get better, but compared to what I was drawing earlier today, this feels better. Like, I think all of that, no, I think that's right. I think this is maybe just missing the lines of this guy coming down. But in general, I think that turned out pretty nice. I had a hard time starting it, I will admit, but I think this was a good practice, and this was about 45 minutes maybe, which I think is a good amount of time. I've practiced quite a bit today. I think I spent over an hour on all of these, not each, but maybe an hour and a half total, maybe more. I'm not sure. I'd have to look back at the timestamps on the video. But then this one, I know what it is. It's a purse with a lot of details. And you can see the edge and all the details in there. So I'm pleased. I'm pleased with myself for trying again. So, moral of the story, practice. Keep trying. Don't give up when you get frustrated. And I might see what's up next and decide what to do from here, but these practices are getting easier and better.